taken a look at this Umpqua Community College shooting I saw on CNN. First thing I came in here, I was going to try to get more numbers together before I turn the recorder on, but if I get too far and then I forget the details I was going to say. So if you can look, oh, let me fix this so you can look in the lower right hand corner at the coordinates of this place. I've been talking about the counting up and counting down numbers that we saw with the Pope, and there are specific places, like I think it was the Cathedral of Peter and Paul, that had counting up numbers, and I'd have to look at my notes to see which specific aspects had counting up and counting down numbers. And then also, unfortunately, there were counting up and counting down numbers in the 266th episode of The Simpsons, which that would be a 923 as well, a 923 number. And in that 266th episode, had a lot of fire, mayhem, didn't have, I don't remember, I think there were guns in that, actually. I'm going to have to look at that episode again. I was looking at it and then I thought, oh my gosh, it's too embarrassing to study The Simpsons. But it had a lot of symbolism in it, and anyway, I'm going to go back and look at it. But so here we have a counting up number 1, 2, 3, and this is conspiracy, Antoinette, also fireworks. Let's take a look at the 1, 2, 3 words. But before we go there, let's zoom out and see where this is. Now, another thing that occurs to me with this name, because it's near to this city, Roseburg. Let's see how close it is. All right, so it looks like it's 5 miles, 5.13 miles. But the heading from the college to the center of Roseburg. The reason why I bring up Roseburg is because of the Nostradamus prophecy about the rose blooming. Remember that? Remember that video I did about the rose blooming, and that had to do with 927 of his quatrains, and that has to do with Jesuit, and we have Jesuit numbers, and the 1, 2, 3 is tied in with Jesuit. So then when I saw Roseburg, I thought, because I'm always looking, why did they choose these different places? And we don't know until we're on the ground what really happened. So maybe we'll find out. And I'm sure that Zach is on this because I think he lives on the West Coast. And so we'll find out. When we have 9 9s here, those are Pope numbers. So the Pope, some of the Pope numbers would have been predicting this, I would say. So we'll come back and look at some more of these numbers and some of the gematria that I found. All right, so I have the gematria of Umpqua, but I wanted to look here at the wiki. It shows it, just look at this, look in terms of the numbers, that now you're learning how to see the numbers with me. Look at these numbers. We have the 22 for the commoner, we have the 25 for pi, 7 for the kingdom of God, the 1, 2, 3, which is fireworks and conspiracy, and the counting up numbers. It's established in the 888 time. There's these numbers, and then we have 17, which is the other pi number, the other pi code, and then the divergent 7s plus the 23. I was hoping to find out what the name of what the history of this name is, but it doesn't say it here. Okay, here under the river, the Umpqua River, it says the Native Americans in Umpqua watershed consist of several tribes, such as the Umpqua, a band of the Coquille, for which the river is named, and the Kalapoya. These tribes witnessed much of the Great Flood of 1862, during which the Umpqua and other rivers rose to levels so high that even the oldest Indians had never seen a greater flood. So let's scroll down to the English. This is Umpqua, so it matches Osiris, which I think is important for our understanding of the secret religion that's going on. It matches Joachim Boaz. These are the pillars of the, I think they're spelled right. I'm not sure though. That might be an M. I don't, sorry if these aren't spelled right, but these are the pillars of the Solomon Temple, and this one might have something to do with the name of this hurricane that they're working with, we're working with right now. We're entering winter. We have the King James Bible that's edited by Francis Bacon. I just learned a lot about Francis Bacon in the book that I'm reading called American Destiny. Hope to bring that to you. Here's the gematria for the college, and again, this is important because again we have not only this P, but we have the 1 and the 8 and the 6 again, and this is the bride of Christ, and the phi number forward and backward. Double emphasis on the 6 here. So this is, so what you'd want to do to find out whether anything in your area is going to be targeted would be to go ahead and gematria a bunch of things, you know, your children's school, you know, places around where you live, maybe the name of your town, to see if you have these 816 and 618 numbers. And then, you know, I think we should pay attention to the 1, 2, 3 heading. Let's go back to Google Earth. This meridian. So I'll draw this out, this meridian out, to see what is all on this meridian in a minute. So here we have it matching the abomination of desolation. I just did a video on this showing that this abomination of desolation likely happened a really long time ago. And of course, things come in cycles, so it doesn't, I'm not saying that it only has to happen once. I think that's the major, let me just make sure in the Jewish, I think that's the major association that I see here, having to do with the other things that we have noticed. Here's the story from CNN that I was looking at, and let's just look at the numbers on the top first of all. We'll run Roseburg and Oregon. So we have 9 patients with 3 more en route. So that was, yesterday was 9:30. So we have a 9 and a 3. So we have another 30 right here. I'm really sad if this really happened. You know, it's hard for us to know, but we do need to talk about the code so that we can be aware of if this is being used to predict anything else. We have the 22 number here for the commoner. So we just need to look at these numbers to see what are the numbers that CNN is choosing here to show you. And we have a 136 number again. This is the 36, but it's also the 9. So it's kind of like the seed of life number. This I usually reduce to an 8. I haven't learned a lot about 38 just as it is. Here we have the 74, the God number, and the 4, which is opposite of the agent. And we have also the, let's see, how many students were part-time, and, you know, these rough numbers. Now, then we have this number. This is the number of Obama's birth. So she just said 3,300 full-time students. We're just looking at the numbers. Oh, here we have a 233 Freemason number right here, but also it's kind of close to a 223. I've been working with that number all day, doing other decodes.
Is down. Perhaps the shooter, we do know is that there are about 3,300 full-time students. There are about 16,000 part-time students.
She said 16,000 part-time students. So you can see that between 16,000 and 3,300, you have a lot of 9s and 3s again. Just to notice that those, just noticing all those numbers and the seed of life numbers there. So I just want to show you that in these backgrounds, they know what they have in these backgrounds. So this is all code. You can gematria this, you can gematria just the SWBR, and the reason why they do this is because they feel limited by the actual structure of words, so they have to do these partial words in the background. So in this view, the NG News, you could say that this would be a 1010. I don't know if you could say that that would be very similar to October 1st, being the date. That would maybe, I don't know, be the year, but also would look like a 924. 24 is the earth number of the menorah gematria. 23 is more of the heaven or divine number, if you want to start to consider how that might be some of the coding behind this. And there's another 10. So when you see those partial codes in the background, you kind of want to think, what are they trying to tell me behind the scenes here? And so I would say this would be one of your top things, is that it's a kind of a doom and gloom Armageddon sort of a theme, and they want that, so they are putting those codes on the back wall for you to have a feeling about that. So here we see a WSBR. Let's take a look at that. I'm scrolled down to the simple and the English gematria, and we can see that these are the associations. Let me just make sure. Let's see what the Jewish one was. 1072, which would be a 109, which would be kind of like a 106 upside down. If you want to consider that this has some tie-ins to the Philadelphia and all the other 106s that we have, this would be a 109 is a 106 upside down. So here's some of the other: Mason, Queen, Dollar, Train, Fibonacci. So they might be wanting you, by putting this in the background, they might be wanting you to have the feeling that, this is Fibonacci, this is the natural flow of things. You might as well just get used to it. Armageddon is on its way. You should just accept that subliminally, so then they will have an easier time creating that for you, and you will go along with it easier. Okay, so at the end of her speech, she says, this is definitely a gun-free zone. Hold on. And by that, she's telling you that, gun laws don't, that we need stronger gun laws. So it kind of goes back on that same drum. But here we have a 9/11 again. So this is the battle between good and evil type of symbolism here. Here we have the bride of Christ. We can even scroll down here, and see, in the Jewish gematria, it matches berry. And in the simple in English, we have the Mother Mary, Virgin Mary, Bride of Christ, Stock Market, Heaven on Earth, Columbus Day. We saw the Pope, with Christopher Columbus. Many Christopher Columbus ties in, and I'm reading right now about Christopher Columbus in American Destiny, and it's pretty interesting. So I hope I can bring that to you. We just need the news to let up a little bit so that I can bring you more back to the books and more background.
The level of anxiety, first of all.
So I just want to show you the voice of Jonathan Gilman. Let's look at his gematria. Make sure I spelled this right, though. Yeah, I think I did it right. To show you the 3s, 6s, and 9s that we have seen again and again throughout this story. Now, what you could say is they're just tailoring these names. Oh, I also did Dana's name. She wrote the report on this, and she also has a 816 and a 618 in her name, and 6s and 3s. This would be kind of the same as a 9-3, which would be the date yesterday. Maybe they just, couldn't pull this off yesterday or something. Because I'm not seeing a lot of 10s and 1s, but we'll have to keep looking here. So Jonathan Gilman also has this Spirit of 76 type of number in his name. And he's supposedly a former Navy SEAL. So in the English and the simple gematria, Jonathan Gillian matches the New Jerusalem. That's probably worth noting. Leonardo da Vinci, Enlightenment, the color pink. The Apocalypse, United Kingdom, Cornerstone, Prince of Wales, the Universe, and much more. In the simple gematria, don't be deceived, kind of jumps out. I don't know if this is a real thing or not. I don't have any way to verify that. To me, if there are tons of code in the victims' names or in the place names, it starts to seem like it's not real. However, it could have been a real happening that they just coded in the newsrooms, and that's why sometimes you get a little bit of a different story, because they're just coding. They're coding it, and they might be coding it a little differently. So we have to keep that in mind too. There are lots of levels for hoaxes. So you would want to say, oh, it's a coding hoax, which would mean you could start building this vernacular where it's a coding hoax, which means it really happened, but they coded everything before they released it. Or, you know, it's a reality hoax, which means it didn't really happen. Or, you know, you'd need different qualifiers and different vernacular to start to talk about these kind of things. Okay, so he just said that there's 17 buildings. That's our Q, Pi, Hawaii, final state of holiness type of code. 17 interrupts Phi. So they might feel that that number allows them to create these type of events. We have another 3-6 here, which upside down is a 9-3. And it's a 19 if you add that, which means raw. And here we have a kill number in the science building. 64 is an 8-8. But here again, as you can see, we have our Virgin. We can scroll right down here and see this is the same thing. Mother Mary, Virgin Mary, Bride of Christ, Valley of Death. This has to do with the 7-11 signs. I keep meaning to make this video. 7-11, if you look at the signs, it shows a green valley and it shows a valley of death. That's Psalm 23. And Psalm 23, if you decode it, does code to within range of, you know, 923, which would be the 9/11 equivalent, which could also, depending on, I think the Hebrew calendar isn't always, you know, matching. You need a Hebrew calendar calculator, but the 7-month on the Hebrew and the Roman calendar is also September, so it's right in there with the Valley of Death type of idea. So it's the same thing. Stock market, we're gonna. I think we need to get a tighter focus on the 1-2-3s and the 3-2-1s. And that's going to let us know what is about to happen. So here it says he's a former Navy SEAL. He's doing a lot of speaking here. Oh, all right. It's going to be a black screen for me. All right, but it says no former Navy SEAL. So let me look at this, and it does match New World Order, and also it's the gateway of the elect here. See, this is probably somebody important. I don't know who he is, but Pope Francis the First. They don't want you to put a 1 on his name, but people do anyway because he's the first one to be named Francis. So it matches that. Matches Thomas Jefferson. Okay, here are the numbers for Roseburg, Oregon, and I'll break it down further. We have the God number, the G and the D, and this is July 4th, and this is part of the Bavarian Illuminati religion. And then we also have the 76, which is the spirit of 76. But if you add the 7 and the 4, that's an 11, and so it's like an 11-6. Or if you put that upside down, which they do, because if they're as above, so below, is a clue to pop things upside down, then it's also an 11-9, November 9th, or a 9/11, depending on how you see it. So this could be one of the sacrifice tie-ins when you see that number. Also here you have a 10-11 gateway with a 0 in the middle. And then here again you have a 116. So look at the 116 and the 116. I was just working on some Halloween predictive programming that I saw in an episode that I'd like to bring to you, and that Halloween, maybe we're going to see this 116 a lot this month. It had a lot of 116s in it, very suspicious amount of 116s. So Roseburg by itself has a 10. That's kind of like October, and I don't know, you know, maybe if it's the first day, they don't need to add the 1, or maybe this is the 1, depending on how they put their algorithms. Here again, we have a seed of life number. We saw that a lot in the numbers. And then this is a 15 gateway, which reduces to a 6. I'm not sure exactly what, I haven't seen a lot of 15 gateways, but let's look at the associations. Alex Jones Internet oh, okay, so here I'm going to say this is the association, since we saw the other tie-ins with this number and the recent blood moon. Very interesting that would match this, and it matches Francis Bacon. I'm reading a lot about Francis Bacon right now, his role in writing about the future America and his editing of the Bible to make it a Freemason document. So that makes, so if you just look at this up there, you're like, yeah, okay, I see those numbers a lot, but you do have to come down here and look at these associations to try and get the full picture of what they're talking about. Maybe they're going to sing Amazing Grace at the funeral of these people. I don't know if this really happened or not. This does look like it's a sudden death incident. Whenever we're dealing with the media and coded events, we are dealing with Zionism. Zionists own the media and Hollywood, and are mixed in with the Vatican and CIA, and they're all basically on the same team. I mean, the houses of control do fight with each other, but when it comes down to it, they're on the same team. Brothers and fraternities. Oregon by itself has some scary numbers. I've learned from Zachary K. Hubbard that it is the 33rd state to be created. It does have the OR in the beginning, which is the 33 number, and then here it has a 5 and a 7, and this is a 15 and 14. That's a 29. So this 29 reduces to an 11. So you do have a 44. If you think about that, if you think about the 11 and the 33, even though one of them is reduced, they do think this way. So and a 7. So this would be a 12 in the center, which you could think of as. I think that when we see a 12, we can think of the full circle, the zodiac, with a 13 in between, like the target symbol or the raw symbol, or it could also be 2 L's, which talks about the divergent, the different kinds of fallen angels. Some are pointing to the right and some are pointing to the left. The idea of the 2 L's, or the Christmas song that says Noel, Noel, that you need to know both of the L's. You can't really broad brush them. Here, of course, we have the kill clock, the kill and the clock number, and then there's another association that I just made. It's in my notes back behind me. Some new associations that I've pulled out of some coded programming that I saw. Let's look. Yeah, and then it's there's the Satan number right there. So it matches Satan, Gospel, Santa, Orgone, climate change. This is the question of the cold blob that I made a video about yesterday. Lions. We've seen lions in the news lately. Lions are also sometimes code for the bride of Satan. I mean, the bride of Christ. I'm sorry. I think it's code for the bride of Christ. That's why they've been killing lions and, oh gosh, now I'm blanking. Let me think of the name. Hold on. The Roanoke shooting female, I want to say her name is Ashley, but I'm not sure. Parker. Anyway, she had a bride of Christ numbers in her name, even though I might not be saying it correctly right now, but she was a Leo because her husband to be, which they were going to marry in 9 months, he had said that she had just celebrated her birthday, which made her a Leo. So they were killing off lions. So that's what I mean by that, is a bride of Christ tie-in symbolically. All right, just to finish up here in Google Earth, we're just going to finish up for now. If I find more, I'll bring it to you. I'm going to probably go to the local news stations and see what they're saying. They always have code too. But I want to look at the shape of this. They have some circles in here. What I want to look at is, first of all, I counted. This one has 8, and this one has 8 partitions. So for them to have an 88 within here is a little questionable. The symbolism of 8, but for the bad guys is kind of like death and destruction. So there's 0.14 miles between that. That's what I'm going to start calling that a slave number, because if you back root that, if you take the reverse digital root of that, you can come to a lot of numbers, but the most common number that they are using that would be the reverse root of that would be 59 and 95, which are slave numbers. Okay, this is what I wanted to see. I mean, I didn't want to see this, but I think there's a few different things we can take here just to look at some of these, some of the headings that are built in here. A 323 heading, let's look at that. So a 323 heading is, in the Jewish gematria, is Lucifer, and it is Catholicism. And in the Lucifer example, we have these other numbers. This is the Oregon number. This matches, this is the intersection of Lucifer and Oregon. You know, we might be onto a new algorithm, the intersection of various gematria, where one, it matches one in the Jewish and another in the English and simple. So very sad but interesting if this really happened. So say, for example, you had a state that matched 612, which is a 216, or a, this is the, what they call the Baphomet number, because it's BAF. The 2 is the BAF. But anyway, if you add another 0, that's 2,160, which is the diameter of time for a zodiac age. So if you had a place that had this, then you would have the intersection of this and that place, you know, just to build on this pattern that I'm noticing here. All right. I'm kind of glad that we had this most very interesting clue. We're here at the end. Let's go back and look at this heading. There's a lot of headings in here. Okay, so it's going the other way. So it's going to be going, north is up. You probably can't see it because of the way this is up here. But so it's going from this place to this place is the 323 heading. And it, you know, I'm tempted to look for a picture here because I feel like they don't pick these places on accident, but I don't see one popping out right now. All right, be safe out there. Love you guys. Okay, a PS. I wanted to look, we have Highway 101 here, and I've looked over in this area. 101 goes all around. I noticed from this area where I can see Zeus, or else this is Vishnu in one of his incarnations. Right here, let me show you. Here we go. If we zoom in right here. A little more. See the face? It'll pop out. There it is. And he's got one of these little hats on. It's almost like that little hat that you see on the gematria picture. On the, you know, the picture of that man on the gematria page. It's got a nose and a beard. And then we come down here, and it looks like he has a hand, kind of. I don't think I drew that on my... If you want to go see more of this, I have a video that's just dedicated to this. But I think he has arms, and then he has he's a merman here. Well, anyway, this is when we first saw... this is where 101 turns into Highway 1, right here on the Golden Gate Bridge. This line goes over to the Manitoba legislative place where there's another man. But this 101 goes along, part of the way it goes along the coast. And especially up here, it goes along the coast. See? I'm not sure exactly where it crosses over. I think somewhere in the middle of California. All right, well, anyway, okay, so what I wanted to show you, let me zoom back out, because I wanted to show you where the 1, 2, 3 line goes. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3 in the 30s, you know, more or less. Because here it's 1, 2, 3, 19, you know, roughly 19 to 20. So, actually, I don't, what I'm looking at, you might not be able to see what I'm looking at. I'm looking in the lower right corner at the north. Now I have my cursor down here. I'm looking at this, but if I have my cursor here, then I don't get the right coordinate. I have to move my cursor, so then your eyes can stay there. And I want to show you, because I think these counting up and counting down numbers are important. Where'd it go? Here it is. So 1, 2, 3, 20. So I'm just going to kind of visually go up because we're more or less at north. Let me turn more north. Okay, so more or less right around here. Now it does, you know, if they recently the USGS has put out earthquake warnings for this area, and they were pretty grim, and saying that everything west of I-5, as you can see here, is going to be toast, they said. Well, this I-5 looks exactly like the 123 to me. The 123, except for it sort of comes in to 122 over there, but more or less it's on this fault. Let's see how far down it goes. Almost to San Francisco. So that might be some of the coding having to do with this. Let's see where it is up here. It's pretty far. Wait, did I go too far? Yeah, it's right, I would say right around here. By Mount Jefferson, looks like. Let's go up a little farther. Let's take a look at all this. Okay, just to get a visual on what this line is. And it looks like I have this parallel, and this is drawn from, I'm trying to it's from, there's I know it, there's an observatory in LA that has an alignment, and I drew that line from the alignment of this observatory in LA. It was in the preview of San Andreas, so that's why I used it. So that's what that line is, but it looks like it's a parallel to this line that we're now looking at. All right, love you guys, be safe.